So you got Botox and you love it. Botox typically lasts like 2 to 4 months depending on the treatment area. What can we do? What kind of treatments or topicals, etc., can we do to make Botox last longer? On the other hand, let's say you got Botox and you hate it. Do you have a droopy eye? Maybe you have a sunken cheek. What can we do to make Botox wear off faster, if anything? And then finally, let's say you don't want to get Botox at all. Are there any ways that you can truly get that kind of result without the needles, without the injections? We're going to talk about that today. If you're new here, my name is Penny. I am a master esthetician in Portland, Oregon, and I also started my career in aesthetics working with an injector, an aesthetic doctor, who does lots and lots of Botox and fillers, and she does, of course, Sculptra and lasers and light and all of the good stuff. So not only am I familiar with this from just a treatment perspective, but I've also worked alongside someone who does it a lot. So I'm excited to share the things that I have researched with you today. Before you leave, I do hope that you will subscribe. I hope you'll follow me over on Instagram where I share all kinds of skincare content. And I hope you'll consider joining my private Facebook group. We are 26 or 27,000 people now, and it's just a really wonderful, kind, empowering place on the internet. I'll put all those links in the description box, and I do hope you'll check them out. First, the sciencey bit. We have nerves that extend to our muscles that are responsible for telling the muscles to contract. We send brain signals down and involuntary or voluntarily and tell the muscles to contract. The way that they do that is by releasing a stored neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Basically, acetylcholine is this neurotransmitter that is stored in the nerve endings, and when needed, it is basically diffused into the area where it needs to go, and it has receptor sites. Once it docks with those receptor sites, it basically lets the muscle know it needs to contract, it needs to move. Now, there are chaperones essentially that facilitate this process. Basically, it's a group of proteins called the snare complex. Now, this group of proteins you can imagine almost like a sports team. They are a group of players, and the most important player in this particular scenario today is called SNAP25. It's literally player number 25. If SNAP25 isn't present, then that neurotransmitter, that acetylcholine, isn't able to transmit its message, to get in, to dock, to tell the muscles to contract. So what Botox does essentially is, through a cascading series of events, it basically carves out that SNAP25. It takes SNAP25 out of the game so that acetylcholine has no way of getting in and telling the muscle to contract. So essentially, the keys that you need to remember for this video is acetylcholine is essential for muscle contraction. SNAP25 is essential for the acetylcholine to get to tell the muscle to contract. No SNAP25, no acetylcholine, no muscle contraction. So you can see when Botox takes out that very, very essential player off the field, there is no longer that communication telling the muscle to contract, so it just relaxes and doesn't do anything because it doesn't get the neuro signal telling it to do something. Okay, that's essentially, in the smallest, most simplistic nutshell, the way that Botox works. Okay, so how does this affect wrinkling or lines? Essentially, there are two different kinds of wrinkles or lines. There are static wrinkles that are there regardless of movement. They are etched into your skin. And then there are dynamic wrinkles. Now, dynamic wrinkles are due to repeated movement in an area. So you might have them in your 11s, or you might have them around your mouth or your crow's feet. If we disable the movement, the wrinkle doesn't form, or if the wrinkle is already there, it will soften. This is why Botox is considered preventative to a lot of people, and also a treatment, because you can use it to prevent those lines and those wrinkles from ever forming. And you can also use it to soften lines that already exist. Okay, so let's say you get Botox and you love it. What are some things that we can do to make it last longer? Typically it does last like 2 to 4 months. It kind of depends on the area, but like foreheads, usually people get those every 3 months. Sometimes they can stretch that longer. But let's say that you want it to last as long as it possibly can. What can you do? The number one thing that you can do, first of all, is talk to your practitioner about zinc supplementation. Now, this is something that obviously, like I said, I'm not a nutritionist, so you need to consider all the things in your personal health that are necessary before you take any kind of supplements. You might need to do a vitamin panel. You might need to talk to your general practitioner, all of that kind of stuff. But just know that this kind of treatment exists and may be helpful in extending the lifespan of Botox. The way that it works is typically a provider will have you take a zinc supplement for like 4 days ahead of time, and you take it for 4 days after your injections. And there have been studies on zinc supplementation and how they affect Botox. In one particular study that I will link below, there were 77 participants. And they split them up, and one group got zinc gluconate alone. Another group got zinc plus phytase. Now, phytase is a digestive enzyme that actually helps you to absorb zinc better. And then another group got a placebo, so they got essentially nothing. I mean, they took stuff, but they didn't get anything that mattered. Now, the results were pretty interesting. 92% of the participants who took the zinc plus phytase saw an improvement in the longevity of their results from Botox. They essentially saw about a 30% longer time that their Botox lasted. That's pretty impressive from, from zinc supplement, from taking a supplement. I think that that's pretty interesting. So that is definitely something worth talking to your injector about, talking to your practitioner about, and seeing if it would be right for you, because 30% longer, I mean, if you consider a 3 month, that means you're going to get 4 solid months out of your Botox. That means that, let's say you actually do Botox every 3 months, which means essentially you do it 4 times a year. You could save yourself one entire treatment every single year because you're getting 30% more time in from your treatments. So I definitely think that that is one worth looking at. I will link that study in the description box. And I also am going to link another study or another paper that I came across that is very, very critical of that study and was skeptical of the zinc supplementation, etc., and kind of some of the parameters of the study. I'm going to link that right with that study so that you can kind of examine them and make your own decisions about the studies and their validity and all that kind of stuff. But no matter what, anecdotally, I have read and spoken to so many people who definitely think that taking zinc, especially when they take it with a digestive enzyme that helps them absorb the zinc better, definitely think that it makes them last longer. This is just like anecdotal. People say, yeah, it definitely lasts longer when I'm taking zinc. So it's something to talk to your practitioner about for sure. Now, the next thing that you can do is you can use a topical Argireline. Now, here's the thing. I want to be really, really clear that I do not think that Argireline is Botox in a bottle. I really don't. And this is going to be not only it can help your Botox last longer, but this is also going to fall into the category of it can help you avoid Botox altogether if you're not interested in going and getting injections, but you kind of want to treat your dynamic wrinkles a little bit. Argireline may be the answer there. The problem with Argireline is definitely penetration. It is a peptide. It acts a lot like Botox. It's a substrate of that SNAP25, and essentially it helps to inhibit the acetylcholine from getting in and telling the muscle to contract. So it does something very similar to Botox. It's clearly weaker than Botox. We're not injecting it, you're applying it topically. But the problem with it is, does it actually get into the skin to be able to affect our nerves? I mean, really, you wonder about that. So my answer to that with Argireline is kind of twofold. Number one, again, anecdotally, I have definitely heard many, many people say that when they use Argireline very regularly, they absolutely see a difference. And I'm talking about just topically using Argireline. I myself feel that I have seen improvement in my dynamic lines and wrinkles, especially over COVID when I was not getting Botox regularly. I was using Argireline pretty regularly, and I definitely felt like it kind of staved off the feeling like I even needed to get Botox, frankly. Now, there are ways that you can make Argireline work better. First things first, you can use a Dermaroller at a cosmetic depth and you can roll it in. So you can kind of give it channels so that it can get in a little bit better. That is the entire roadblock with Argireline, is just its penetration potential, right? So some Argireline products that I can recommend you guys. One is by Asterwood Naturals. I have used this one before. I just reordered it. I haven't even opened it yet. I've talked about this one on this channel before. It's a really great product. I decided to try a couple and I will report back, but they get really good reviews. And like I said, I've used this brand before and I really liked it. But this is their Matrixyl 3000. That's another brand name or trademarked name for another peptide, and this also has Argireline. So this one is also really, really interesting to me. And then the last one, and this one I've used before and I picked it up again. I went through all of my Argireline during COVID, and then when we got out of quarantine and everything, I kind of fell off the wagon with Argireline because I was able to go back in. I definitely get Botox in my forehead primarily, and now I get it in my chin as well as I've gotten older. And sometimes I get it in my DAOs to help to lift the corners of my mouth. It's a very, very tiny amount of Botox. We're talking like 1 or 2 units here and here, and it's supposed to just subtly relax that so that as we're aging and our mouths start to turn down, it just helps to kind of stop that contraction from happening. It's really fantastic, honestly. But the other one that I can highly recommend is by The Ordinary. You guys, this is like $7. It's very, very watery, and it's perfect for spot treatment, like between your eyebrows, crow's feet. I don't know about my chin. I've never really used it there, but I'm gonna try. And the DAOs, I might try it there too, but definitely crow's feet and the 11s. This is great, and you can use it along with a Dermaroller. So this is the same Dermaroller that I talked about in my Dermarolling video that I will link, that's from a few weeks ago. It's just the Angel Kiss. It is real needles. It is a 0.3, and you could do this along with your cosmetic needling session and just add the Argireline in spot treatments. It's actually a really inexpensive way to either boost your Botox or avoid Botox, again, with reasonable expectations, because it is not Botox in a bottle. The results are going to be far less impactful than actual Botox, but you need to know that it exists because it might be something. It's also far less expensive and less time consuming because you're not going in and getting treatments, or it can help, elongate the time between your treatments, which could save you money in that way. The other thing that you can do is you can use something like the droplet that helps to push the Argireline in further. Now, the collagen capsule actually has Argireline, and it's funny because over time, from using that collagen capsule now for a really long time, it's been my favorite forever, out of all of the capsules. I actually kind of theorized that the reason that I love the collagen capsule so much is the Argireline. And I've actually talked to people who use the droplet along with the collagen capsule very, very regularly, and they notice the improvement in their dynamic lines, especially in the forehead. So I use this with the collagen capsule on my entire face every single morning, but I really do try, after kind of having that aha moment, to concentrate a little bit extra between my eyebrows, and also at my crow's feet and underneath my eyes, which I was kind of doing anyway because I really do like to get a little bit of extra hydration under that, under my eyes, etc. So you can use something like that. You could also, of course, try and push the Argireline in with something like electroporation, or maybe with your microcurrent. If you have a water-based Argireline solution, you could put that on in spot treatment and you then do your microcurrent treatment. So essentially, we're trying to overcome the penetration issue with Argireline and give it a little bit of extra help to get in. So Dermaroll, microcurrent, electroporation, droplet, and then above all, consistency is super important. So using Argireline every single day in those spots that you want to treat is paramount, because like I said, it is so much less effective than actual Botox that if you want results that are anywhere near Botox, anywhere near it, because it's not going to be the results of Botox, but anywhere near that, you have to use it very, very regularly, at least once a day kind of thing. There are studies that exist that help to kind of back up Argireline. In fact, I'm going to read one of them to you. A study in 2013 on 60 subjects found that after 4 weeks of applying Argireline twice a day around the eyes, the group with Argireline saw a 48.9% improvement in wrinkles around the eyes, and the group without the Argireline that was just using a placebo saw no improvement whatsoever. Now, the conclusion of the study reads exactly like this. This is a quote. It says, this study showed that Argireline had a significant anti-wrinkle effect in Chinese subjects. I'm going to link that, of course, in the description box as well. So it would appear also, and this has been an anecdotal kind of evidence thing to me as well, that especially around the eyes, it is incredibly impactful. So like crow's feet and just underneath the eyes, because Argireline doesn't just help with the neurotransmitter kind of softening dynamic wrinkles. It also hydrates your skin and can be helpful in the production of collagen. So it's kind of threefold as far as what it can do for you. So it's really, really great around your eyes. As long as people have reasonable expectations, I think it is definitely something that you can do to either elongate the time between your Botox sessions, or you can do to avoid getting Botox altogether. Okay, so let's talk about what you do if you get Botox and you hate it. Hello, you have a droopy eye, which is also known as ptosis. That would be when, unfortunately, either the Botox migrated or the Botox is improperly placed and you end up with a droopy eyelid or two, which would be awful. And what can we do about that? Also, you could get Botox in muscles like your masseter so that you can slim the face. And if you are over 40 years old, unfortunately, that can cause jowling and cause a really irregular look to the face. And I say this from personal experience. One time and one time only, I had masseter Botox, and I only had 15 units a side. It's a pretty big muscle, and the muscle definitely atrophied. It took a really long time for the Botox to wear off. I had jowling. I had a sunken, funny looking shape to my face for many, many, many months. And so that would be when I started searching for ways that we can make Botox wear off faster. The number one way that you can make Botox wear off faster is by using EMS. Now, this is not really necessarily for this part of your face. It's more for the lower part of your face, especially if you get something like masseter Botox, or if you get Botox around your mouth and it affects your smile and you don't like it, you can try using EMS. This is kind of anecdotal also, and it is something that I did and I feel like it definitely helped me. The reason for my kind of hypothesis that EMS can help with bad Botox is because EMS, if you're not familiar, is muscle stimulation. So it's kind of like amped up microcurrent. What it does is it basically mimics the nervous system, and you don't actually have to have that SNAP-25, that acetylcholine. You don't have to have any of that because it mimics all of that and causes your muscles to contract. So if you've done Botox in places like your masseter or around your mouth and you don't like it, you can't get the signal to go because there's nothing that you can do that will enable that SNAP-25, that will enable the acetylcholine, that will then give that signal, except EMS. EMS doesn't need any of that because it mimics the nervous system and basically does it on its own. So I did EMS almost every single day. I actually still do because I'm still trying to get my my masseter muscle back to where it was before. And I did it basically on this part of my face. Literally just did it this morning. I do it all along here, and it is primarily for the purposes of continuing to not only make that Botox wear off, but to build back those muscles to actually make them a little bit bigger, I'm hoping. Now, normally I'm not a huge proponent of EMS. I do think that there are arguments for EMS causing the depletion of something called adenosine triphosphate, ATP, but that's actually not what we're talking about using EMS for. I'm talking about using it as a rescue tool if you have had Botox and you are hoping to make it wear off faster. So you might be saying, well, why is that going to make it wear off faster? Here's where my hypothesis comes in. If you get Botox around your mouth and you also get Botox in your crow's feet, your Botox around your mouth will wear off, I don't know, twice as fast as around your eyes. And it has to do with moving. So the more that you move the area where you've gotten Botox, the faster the Botox wears off. So my theory is by moving that muscle and moving that muscle and moving that muscle with the use of EMS, I'm going to metabolize and wear that Botox off faster. I am convinced that it helped. And so I want to offer that hypothesis, that theory up to you. If you happen to be somebody watching this video who has gotten Botox in the lower half of their face, you hate it, and you are hoping to make it wear off faster. Now, one thing that I really want to stress is that I'm not suggesting that you use EMS right after you got Botox. I definitely don't think that. That, in my opinion, could cause the Botox to migrate. I'm talking about once the Botox has kicked in and you can tell that the result is not something that you want. That's when you would start to use EMS. Next thing to know that is super important is if you wind up with ptosis. So if your eyelid starts to droop, you can definitely go back to your practitioner and ask for an eye drop. There is an eye drop on the market now that has been shown to lift the eyelid with ptosis 1 to 3 millimeters. Now, there's a very, very tiny study that, of course, I will link in the description box with only 6 subjects. And the 6 subjects were all treated with 1 to 2 drops of this eye drop, and all of them saw this improvement. These eye drops were originally used to test for something called Horner's syndrome. It is an ailment, and it has to do with the eyes, obviously. And what they found, the byproduct of that, was that they found that it lifted the eyelids. And 1 to 3 millimeters might not sound like a lot, but if you have ptosis and you are noticing a droop, especially if it's affecting your vision, and there is an eye drop that can even lift your eyelids just a little bit, aesthetically that's going to make you happier, and also it can help with your vision, being able to see. So I really wanted people to know that that exists. It's, of course, another ask your practitioner. But anytime you get a bad outcome with Botox, the very first person that you should be contacting is your practitioner to discuss treatment options and a plan. And you need to know the things that are available so that you can ask for them and be treated appropriately. I hope that this video was helpful. I hope it helps someone, especially if you are someone who has had Botox that you don't like. It's really disheartening because you know that you have months and months and months ahead of you of looking a way that you did not want to look, and it feels a little bit helpless. So hopefully this video gives you a little bit of hope and gives you a little bit of, a little bit of a strategy at attacking the situation if you are in that spot. I do hope that you will subscribe before you leave. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next skincare video. Take care.